So I guess there's a bidding war going on for the Earl Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight, according to some people. And I guess this all started because of a tweet that Pogmeyer had put up. And basically in the tweet, all he talked about was the fact that there's no negotiations going on between Earl Spence and Keith Thurman, which, I mean, wouldn't be a shocker to anybody. I mean, Earl Spence has made it very clear that he's not doing anything. He's not fighting that dude. So, you know, which obviously could change and put a big enough check in front of that boy. You know, that could change. But for right now, that's what we've heard. So, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be a shocker. It's not difficult for somebody to make such a statement. Then the other statement that he made was the fact that Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence are, you know, still in talks. Who said they weren't? Who said they weren't in talks? You know, no one tried to put out that information whatsoever. I mean, some people try to claim that, oh, Earl Spence fighting on the 19th with or without Terrence Crawford. But like I said, you know, you can pretty much take all the information that people are talking about when it comes to this fight and just throw it out the window. No one knows what the hell's going on. They're pretty much nip tight, quiet when it comes to this. And we've seen all sides laugh and, you know, and say a lot of things that are coming out is comical. They're laughing at a lot of the reports that are coming out there. So when it comes to, it gets to a certain point where you have to be like, okay, people don't know what the F they're talking about, you know, and just, that's regardless. And I'm not saying that people putting out the information, wherever their quote sources are, their sources don't know ish when it comes to this fight. It's something that's different when it's something different time after time after time after time after time. At some point, you're like, you know what? Y'all really don't know what the hell's going on when it comes to this one. Y'all might be good when it comes to the other ones you've been on when it comes to other things. But when it comes to this one right here, you don't know what the hell's going on. Kind of like with the Miguel Cotto, Floyd Mayweather fight. People coming out with different information, and then Miguel Cotto's camp are coming like, we don't know what the hell they're talking about. Oh, they're having a hard time negotiating with the Mayweather camp. And Cotto's team was coming out like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Oh, you know, they're having these points, this. And they're like, all this different information was coming out. And this camp just came out like, no, you know, negotiations have been cool. Everything with Floyd Mayweather's been, and his team has been real chill. There's been no issues, and everything is fine. After like a week of people coming out with all different types of crazy information. So when it comes to this one, I would ignore everything anybody has to say when it pertains to this fight. And then the third thing that came out, he said, was that, oh, you know, things are, you know, Showtime and Fox, the bidding is competitive. And then somehow that turned into, oh, there's a bidding war, which I don't understand. Like the fact that Fox and Showtime would be involved as far as trying to get the fight, that's not a shocker. They're involved in trying to get all the big, PBC fights. You know, bidding was competitive for Earl Spence versus Ugas too. You know, bidding was competitive when it came to Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant too. It was competitive. No one's called it any kind of bidding war. It's not that, doesn't mean that they're going back and forth. No, I mean like, hey, two people, you know, put out deals and they're pretty close to each other, the deals. They're two pretty good deals that are comparable. That's a better word. These are, you know, the bidding, the bidding is, you know, what they've been offering is comparable. They're close. But that doesn't mean that people are just stacking up money on top of money on top of money on top of money trying to get this fight. It's not that type of fight. I understand people want to make this out to be like the biggest fight in like the history of boxing, like this fun, you know, monstrous fight. It could end up being, who knows, you know, fights could, you know, blow up into being something like that. Floyd Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya turned into that. You know, it was a really good fight. It was going to make money, but when they brought out when HBO, whatever, when they do that show, when they brought that out, it just took this fight to a whole different, you know, and Money May came out, Floyd Mayweather came out with this whole Money May persona. It just took this fight to just a whole different galaxy. I knew they were going to do good. I don't know if they knew they were going to do that good with that fight. But it ended up being just spectacular, you know, so, you know, and this, I guess it could grow to that. But it's not that big of a fight where people are going to be like, I'm going to put up whatever amount of money. If that was the case, Espinosa and them or PBC would just put up a ridiculous amount of money to get the fight to begin with. Like Crawford wants this fight amount of money, cool, yeah, we'll guarantee you that money. And that's it. It would have been pretty easy, like, because it would have been like, all right, it's that type of fight where we can really put up like a ridiculous amount of money. People don't know. You honestly don't know. People got to be honest with themselves. Think about when McGregor was fighting Floyd Mayweather, and how much people were talking about that. Not just a little niche of boxing, just in general. We're talking about all of the UFC channels, all of the boxing channels in the United States and the UK, the Spanish ones, the Asian ones, the black ones. Everybody was on the radio stations when it came to Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez. Think about it. Every time you turn on ESPN, they were talking about it. Negotiations. What's going on in negotiations? Talking about it. You turn on regular radio stations, they were talking about it. You know, all the different platforms are talking about it. Look at all the UK platforms. It's just Mayweather Canelo. The Spanish ones, Mayweather Canelo. The black ones, everybody, Mayweather Canelo. It was that big. It was huge, obviously, with the Manny Pacquiao one and the Floyd Mayweather one. Yes, to that one as well. You know, that's what it was. It was crazy. It's just the same atmosphere. People got, honestly, when's the last time you've heard somebody on the radio talk about this fight? Honestly, when's the last time you've heard we've had all these rumors, right? All these different rumors about what's going on in this fight, right? When have you heard anybody talk about it on ESPN? Name one time. When's the last time someone's even talked about this fight on ESPN? When? You know, when? So, no. Could it end up growing up and brewing into a big fight? Yes, it could be. Right now, though, no. They have to look at those analytics. They got to look at what Spence has done. You got to look at what Terence Crawford has done. And you got to go by that. You know, you got to go by that. And some people are trying to compare this to to Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. Like, oh, yeah, you know, this is the Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya type of thing where you get these two entities and they're going to end up doing it. No, it's not, because Oscar De La Hoya, when he was fighting top dudes, he was doing 700,000, 800,000, 1 million pay-per-views. He was doing like 1 million pay-per-views. And then when you had Floyd Mayweather was doing 300,000 pay-per-views at that time. He had got himself to the point where he was doing 300,000 pay-per-views. Oscar De La Hoya was doing 700,000 pay-per-views. Two completely different demographics. So, you know, you already know that you put Oscar De La Hoya in there with somebody, you know, of note. He's going to do numbers. Now you're putting him in there with somebody that does 300,000 plus pay-per-views. You know, we knew what those numbers are going to be. You know, they're like, okay, we're going to do like 1.4 million. You know, we're going to do some numbers. We're going to do probably right around, 1.4 million. You know, at the bottom. We're going to do numbers. And they understood and they knew that. So, you know, so it's completely different. Even in that particular situation, Floyd Mayweather took 25%, by the way. Ain't no 40%, 45% like Terence Crawford's probably going to get. Took 25%. Even in that situation, when he was already doing those type of numbers. 25%. You know, so it's different with everything. It's different. You know, he had a bigger guarantee. He had a $25 million guarantee, but they knew this was a monstrous fight. They knew they were going to get a ridiculous gate. They knew at the end of the day, Oscar De La Hoya was going to get $75 million. He knew he was going to get $75 million. You know? So it was a much bigger fight that they knew off the rip with their analytics of what it was going to do. Off the rip. And they said, we're giving you $25 million. You look at these two analytics, it's not the same. You know? Earl Spence is doing Floyd Mayweather numbers. You know? He's doing the Floyd Mayweather numbers. You know? No one in this situation is doing the Oscar De La Hoya numbers. Terence Crawford is doing his 100,000 pay-per-views. Like, he's, you know, it's different. It's completely different. He's not, so they're not going to scale this to the level when it comes to paying money out. They're not going to scale this to what would be a Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather type of situation, or anything close to that. They're not gonna do that. You know, and it's going to be a max of what they're going to be willing to pay for this price. There's a max for everybody. There was a max for Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant, because of the numbers that he's done in the past, they understand we put him against certain people. We're doing a $18 to $20 million gate, and we're gonna do 700,000, 800,000, $1 million plus. That's why the max are willing to pay when it came to Caleb Plant was like the 42, 43, or 45 million, or whatever it was. And when he wanted more, they said no, and they walked away. And he had to come back because, yes, because of who he is and what he generates, his max is a lot higher. It was a lot higher, but they still had a budget for what they would be willing to pay, even with it being, you know, him having a substantially higher budget for his fights than other people. Then when it came to him fighting, you know, Earl Spence, when it came to him fighting the other guys, what's his name, Charlo, you know, or Benavidez, they bumped it up to 50 million. They're willing to pay him 50 because they understand what that fight's going to generate. From the analytics, they know you put Canelo in against this type of opponent, these are the numbers he does. So stop comparing it to the Canelo fight, to Canelo 2. You know? You want to compare it? Cool. Let me know the fight that Earl Spence did 18 million at the gate. I'll wait. When you can do that, then you can start comparing that. If you can't do that, stop it. Stop it. They're not the same. You know? But as far as with everything that's going on with these guys and these reports that are coming out, ignore them. That tweet basically said absolutely nothing. He just put out general information because they have nothing to talk about. That's all that was. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.